everyone, and welcome to an episode of The Bottom Line. I'm your host, Lauren Kalil. Our show is brought to you by Whoop. Start tracking your strain, recovery, and sleep scores with Whoop, and even get an extra month's membership and a free 4.0 strap when you sign up with the link in the description. If you like listening to us talk about CrossFit news and everything that's going on in the sport, make sure to like and subscribe. Team Quarterfinals, it just finished up, and on this episode, we're discussing who can give CrossFit Mayhem Freedom a run for their money. To discuss the topic, we have sports analyst Patrick Clark and games athlete Dex Hopkins. We're recording this on Sunday. We see the leaderboard. No surprises here that Mayhem Freedom is, in fact, in first.
In first and scattered into the top 10 with 3 different names. So, yeah, just a real mess of mayhem. Oh, it is literally mayhem.
Yeah. 3 Mayhem teams in the top 10. I mean, I know we're going to specifically talk about Freedom, but Independence not too far behind.
I just want to pick out the stepchild, so it seems to be injustice. Like, oh, you had to finish outside of the top 10 or 15, you peasant. So yeah, they probably make them work out outside exclusively, even if it's raining. No YouTube time for them, so it's probably a hard life.
I can only imagine with 3 teams all in house. We look at Mayhem Freedom though, and they are 15 points ahead of second. Did either of you expect the point spread to be bigger with Freedom?
This year. I mean, last year, obviously, there was a huge discrepancy. Well, we didn't have a worldwide leaderboard last year, which I really hope CrossFit does eventually create a worldwide leaderboard, even though it happened last year. But no, it's another year of this new system. So it gave all these teams a whole year to kind of game plan for this year. Either like recruit athletes, bring people in, kind of like how it used to be in the regional days. I mean, Dex can talk more about that as well, where, the super teams are gone, but, you can still create them. And we see that in Reykjavík. We're seeing it at other places like OBA, Move Fast, Lift Heavy. So I'm not surprised that it's that close. I didn't think it'd be a runaway.
Dex,
especially with these workouts. I mean, they, as like the online things are very almost limited. But like we said, I love that these were way more, team heavy workouts, which always kind of favors them because they're always the consummate team. But cycling in a new guy in Cormier, I did not think it would be as big a stretch. But I mean, Mayhem's going to mayhem, especially on team. Not upset about it. Not surprised. They have I would say, probably the 2 best girls in the game. They get to do team. But what's more surprising to me is that having 3 in the top 10, with taking 2 guys who did really well at the MAC, and that's on Independence, Alexis, and I don't want to get the other girl's name wrong.
Nesha.
Yep. So they're going to be obviously going to be in here throwing haymakers with a 16-point kind of deficit behind, Papa Bear's team. So, and not having to finish outside the top 10 to start the season. Again, super limited tests. There's no worm. And these are the ones where you have to have the capacity. And now we know the attention to detail for the standards and communication on these, which was, refreshing in an online qualifier for teams. To move forward and purchase those kind of sexy things like the worm and other stuff. So, knowing they have that on deck and knowing the caliber of athletes they have. I mean, Alexis Johnson's been in the game several times. She seems healthy. Luke had a good showing last year. And so they all, they're set up, man, to have a good year across the board. I'm going to be honest, I don't know many of the people that are on the Mayhem Justice team. But 3 in the top 10 is nuts to me. I mean, that is a real Invictus move on their part. I mean, it's the only thing you have to compare it to, just longevity wise. I mean, having, all Sea of Green since it's been a thing. My favorite pictures of old school CrossFit stuff are Sea of Green pictures from the tennis stadium. And next to those was like richest people in pink shirts watching him win individual. And so, it's very cool to see those kind of worlds collide and it be a weird role reversal because where there's 1 Invictus team now and there's some more Invictus scattered through the leaderboard, but 3 Mayhem in the top 10. I mean, that's scary business going forward. I think the fun question to me, a lot like we asked with the Panchek brothers is, how are you going to space out these semifinals? Could it be a Mayhem podium? And also, like, does your seating actually matter? Or are they just going to put you somewhere where it's regionally convenient for you? A lot like regionals. So,
Well, I think
not surprised.
Well, I mean, you bring that up. I mean, obviously, you have the first two quarterfinals or semifinals at in Knoxville, which is an hour down the road from Cookeville. So, I mean, you got those three teams in there. I can see all three teams being in Knoxville at some point. Maybe not the same weekend, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
When you look at the leaderboard, we see CrossFit Reykjavík that they tied them for workout 3 for first. Then they took first in workout 4. This is the first time that we're actually seeing this group of 4 athletes as a team. Do we think that by the time they get to the games that their team could be a true contender to beat Mayhem Freedom?
Oh,
I think so.
100%.
Yeah, I think so. I think that team will go as their kind of handling of the worm goes, right? And we'll get to see that firsthand at semifinals. I know nobody's a shoe-in, but I think like it's almost safe to look ahead to the games and see how that progresses. But you can see in years past, Rich's teams just hammer the worm. Mm-hmm. Aside from being, really high-level athletes individually, capacity-wise, and if it's a relay, they're in the mix. Historically not a home run hitter team, but the things that they dominate were the things with the worm, the things that involved those heavy teamwork things and communication. Just because who's at the front of the dragon boat, kind of steering the Vikings to the finish line, and so it'll be interesting to see that. And like I said, you can see Annie taking on that role for the Reykjavík team, and knowing the kind of tools they have in the bag to bring to the table with Tola and Khan and Lauren. I mean, I think if they're healthy, man, and there's going to be leaps and bounds made progress-wise. I mean, just with the amount of time those people have spent individually in the game, and then what Tola can bring. Lauren Fisher's had success with Invictus into the games on the team, so I think the sky's the limit for that for sure. But I think they will go as their worm stuff goes. Because I think the deeper you get into the season, it seems it's way heavier teamwork to me. I think this was the last kind of, and then really just it was awesome to me that the only actual individual workout, you could kind of say the barbell one, but the last one that was just a relay.
Yeah.
But I love that there was a lot of teamwork and stuff, and you can see that. So I think that's how it'll go for them, leading into the games and semis.
The Reykjavík's getting, they're getting a lot of worm work in. I think the way Yami is splitting up their training is like they'll do individual workouts, and then they'll do like 2 to 3 team workouts per week, and that includes the worm. And obviously you have someone like Lauren and Tola who've been on the worm, they've been in every position on that worm. They know how to communicate. I mean, and Annie's a quick learner. So it's, if anything, if Annie's not doing it, I mean, even in those rich teams, like it was, Tasha or China were actually the ones who were communicating, not so much Rich. So it doesn't really matter as long as it's someone they can all understand, and they realize this is the person that's going to be talking. Everyone else is listening. As long as they make that, make that a priority when it comes to working with the worm, I think they'll be fine.
And what's scary about that is they're going to have in the pocket the home run hitter card, right? Like,
Tola and Annie.
Yeah, and having a new guy on Mayhem Freedom is a wild card, right? Like, I think he was poised to have a really good individual season. So even the fact that he went team is, there must have been some whispering in that ear about, kind of upside. So, but I definitely think that they have some home runs in the pocket for Reykjavík. So see how wormy it gets.
Yeah, definitely.
So what is the bottom line, though? Can a team actually beat CrossFit Mayhem Freedom this year?
I think it's always a possibility. I think the people I know that have fallen onto teams that, we talk about Reykjavík till we're blue in the face. Individual athletes are that. Throwing them on a team is like a really good, fun time at Wodapalooza until we get to the games and see how it does, right? So OBA, a lot of fitness on that team with Kelsey Keel, Joey Jotor, Nick Hecht, and Ashley Wozni. All really strong athletes, 2 really strong girls, really capable girls, and knowing how their training's going, getting oddly aerobic in the things they weren't good at. So some buckets are being filled. Who else did I have? Oslo, got second last year, and we spoke to their athletes in a previous episode about they were lucky to be there last year. So I can't imagine what a hungry year of, hey, we've tasted the blood in the water, and now, we're not just swimming around. We're the shark looking for some food. So coming into a year where they're more confident and they got to win at Wadapalooza over the girls from Mayhem, with a third girl attached to them, whatever. But just taking that motivation into the season and then adding a games athlete and say his last name, Nikolai
Philadelphia.
Billadal, have an accent. But that's 2019 games athlete, solid individual athlete. It's just teamwork, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be an exciting year. I think there's always a chance, right? Rich is a little older, wears a lot of knee sleeves now, and so I don't know. I don't know what happens, but there are some people set up that if the programming's right, and they hit their home runs, and then like we're talking about, if the spaces can be filled where there is just traditional Mayhem domination for like weird implement or worm stuff. I mean, I think there's definitely room to get knocked off the throne, man, especially with this mix this year. Because there's a lot of good athletes, scattered through these teams. And Victus picked up Josh Amshama, and they're always a perennial just in the mix. And he's also like a home run hitter strength guy and monster on the machines. So just I think across the board, their team's going to be really good also. So, I wouldn't love for them to slip up, but like I think my favorite years are where it's not a runaway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my favorite times are where there's just haymakers exchanged. You think about like being on the floor when Tia got second or something like that. When Tia they didn't give it away, or Cara might almost won, and like the storylines for that. And the last time we got it for team is 2017 when Brute Strength had that Stop the Mayhem campaign. Followed through with it, and that's the last 6-person year. So I would love to see there be and even if no one dethrones them, to be in there, just give them a black eye to wear it for a little while.
Yeah.
Punch the bully, and so
leave a mark,
make them hurt for a year.
I think the kind of bottom line, you asked if there's a team that can beat them. I don't think there's one team that can beat them. I think all these teams collectively have to beat them.
That's the point.
I mean, Mayhem's going to be Mayhem. You just need teams to finish ahead of them while you stay close. So whether it be Reykjavik or OBA or Move Fast Lift Heavy, Oslo, Pro One Montreal, your list goes there. But those teams for anyone to have a chance, they all need to collectively just go out there and not be intimidated by that Mayhem, by Freedom being on their chest or whatever. That also includes Independence. We talked about. That has to be another team. They're not going there. They want to beat Big Brother. Little sister wants to beat up Big Brother. I think that's what needs to happen. I think Annie said it best when someone asked her about, hey, can Tia be beat? And Annie's like, yeah, she can be beat, but it needs to be a collective effort. And I think it's the same way. This is on paper, this is the strongest team that Rich will ever throw at the games, only because last year, Panchik, the year that he had Panchik on his team, they, 2020? Yeah, I thought that would probably been the best team ever, but we never got to see that. But this will probably be the strongest team ever puts out there. But Annie's team's tough. You look at the results, and they're right there with them, minus that workout 2. Yeah, workout 2, where they kind of went a little conservative on that with them, but they're punch by punch with them. And I really like that Oslo team. And Dex should talk about this a little bit more in terms of when it comes to team, you kind of your success is usually based on the strength of your women, and obviously Mayhem has 2 of the best ever, but I think those Oslo women, Grid and Lena Richter, they're very comparable. They remind me, they're like almost carbon copies of Taylor Williamson and Andrea Nisler in terms of strength. Their ability, if you watch them, and I think that's why they can go head to head with them. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but it can happen. But it's not going to be one team. It's not going to be, a perfect scenario would have 3 or 4 teams battling that last day and Sunday inside. That it hasn't happened yet. We haven't seen that,
and it matter. That Sunday matter.
Yeah, it haven't happened since 2017, but I don't think we're going to see that this year. I think where Mayhem won 6 of the first events at last year's games
that were not good Mayhem events.
Yeah, They were
That's
not.
what's
Yeah.
and that's why I get at, like, everybody else has to fill the holes, and then
Mhm.
the beat them by committee. What you're saying is 100% what has to happen. There's got to be the ones where they are not good. Everybody's got a dog pile ahead,
Yep.
and that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Okay, way too early prediction, but just a yes or no response. Will a different team stand on top of the podium at the games this year?
Ooh. No.
no, not adding Cormier, and not. I mean, unless something drastic happens, barring complete freak accidents,
Yeah.
somebody steps out of the shower and breaks a toe, something weird.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. Not adding that guy. I love Chase Hill. He's a great athlete. I want to say his accidentally had a team get 84th or something like that. But he was the kind of strength hole, and they knew that, right? That was a fit guy, mega fit. And then it was a known kind of hole that he's still working on. But I mean, that guy, Cormier guy, doesn't have that, right?
Yeah.
He is really strong.
Yeah.
So they're going to complement each other well, and the strong got stronger, and so I don't see it. I hope that is my hope, but I don't
Certainly
think
some
so.
contenders. You guys mentioned some really great teams. And again, this was our first actual look at what kind of scores teams can put up in the first stage. Now we're moving forward to semifinals. Dex Hopkins, Patrick Clark, thank you guys for recapping team quarterfinals and who can possibly dethrone Mayhem Freedom. Can't wait to see who's going to give them a run for their money.
Stop the mayhem.